Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today I'm going to talk to you about why do you want to invest in joist tape. So we use a lot of different joist tapes in our builds, especially when we're using wood or when we're attaching anything to a side of a house. Waterproof membrane tapes are really important. It's technology that has come out in the last 10 years. It's been in the industry for longer than that, but it's been a really hot topic for about the last 10 years or so. And the reason it's so important is because if you do a lot of deck demolition, then you already know that rot and decay are things that are always a problem in our industry, especially even with pressure-treated lumber and the way that they've taken precautions on as far as treating lumbers to make sure that they last longer. They can still rot if they're put in the wrong situation. So the first place, in my opinion, that rots is the top of a joist. So here's a piece of 2x10, and this is the top of the joist right here. And you're gonna put all your decking, you're gonna put fasteners and screws and everything right into the top of this. And the place that's gonna rot the first is right in between the deck boards, where the deck boards come together, right in the middle between the two deck boards, there's basically a gap. And in that gap is where a lot of sediment, debris, and things like that can catch. So what happens is, where I'm from, we get a lot of pine needles, okay? A lot of pine needles and maple spurs and all that kind of stuff, those whirligig things that drop and fall into between the deck board cracks. All that stuff nests in between the decking, and it sits on top of the joist, and it just festers and becomes like clogged. And if you don't take care of that, that's the first place I notice where decks decay the fastest, is in between the decking, because all that stuff just sits there and it just rots. And eventually it's going to eat right into your framing, even if it's pressure treated. So by putting a layer of tape on top of this joist, it's going to extend the life of your deck by at least 10 years, if not longer, because it's going to keep the materials from doing that. And then any other water, it kind of sheds the water off the top of the joist, and then it'll roll down the side. And then again, you'll start seeing every 5.5 inches or whatever width your decking is, a shadow line of mildew or moss, because that's where the water drains off. But again, the very first place where it rots is at the top of the joist. And then something that's been trending, and I've done this quite a bit, is flat blocking. When you start flat blocking areas because you're doing surface borders and you have maybe decking coming this way and you're attaching the block like this, and then you have a surface border going this way, and you're trying to waterproof the deck and keep it from leaking, or you just want to protect these solid surface blocks, we always tape anything that's flat on a deck. We always tape it to avoid water intrusion. And if you go through a lot of our videos, you're going to see us using membrane tape all the time. Another place for decay is when you sister two joists together like this, then this crack right here, if this is not protected from water getting through, water gets in between these two, and it always stays damp, always. And it stays damp for much longer than it would if it had a gap or if it had protection. So when that happens, then the inside of your joist will start to decay, even if they're pressure treated. I've seen it happen several times where it just starts to fall apart. It'll just end up crumbling in your hands. Then it's not safe, and then somebody might get hurt. I have a few different widths of G-tape. G-tape comes in a 2-inch, a 4-inch, a 6-inch, a 9-inch, and a 12-inch roll. It's easy to use. You just pull it off the roll. Oh, helps if I go the right direction. You just pull it off the roll like so. There's some that is backerless, and some of it has this backing paper. So depending on the type you get will determine what type of backing paper you may or may not have. So this stuff, all you got to do is just start it, and then you'll pull your backing paper like so, and then keep it nice and taut, and then you can just roll it right on top and smooth it out like that. And then this stuff, it just rips with your hand. You can also have a knife available if you want, but it's not so much necessary. Now this is a piece of 4-inch. You can actually get by with a piece of 2-inch, but if you want a little extra protection on the sides of the joist, you can use 4-inch like this. A 2-inch roll is going to cost you about 20 bucks. A 4-inch roll is going to cost you about $32, and you're going to get about 65 feet per roll. It's okay to overlap this stuff, so it's super thin. It lays down really flat. There's not a whole lot of wrinkles. If you work in shorter lengths, it's going to be a little bit easier to use than if you're trying to do full lengths, but we do both. Just depends on the type of area that we're trying to protect, okay? You can also tuck the corners like this. If I had a blade on me, I might cut that, and then it would stick. Okay, so also while I'm at it, I don't suggest that you completely wrap or encapsulate boards in G-tape. I think that you got to leave at least one side exposed so that air and moisture can escape. Moisture is going to find a way into the board, and it's always going to try to leave through the top. So if you're blocking the top with G-tape, you still want to have a place where the moisture can escape and that the board can breathe a little bit. So you really don't want to totally encapsulate the board in the tape. For one, it's expensive, okay? And two, it's counterintuitive. So we'll just rip a piece of this off of here, and let's see. Usually when I'm doing wider pieces like this, I'll just get it started. I'm not gonna completely strip the paper off it yet. I just wanna get it started because the stuff's sticky. And in the summertime, it's real sticky. Okay, but let's just say I like what I have right here. Okay, now I can, and if you make a mistake, what I like about G-tape is you can kind of peel it back up a little bit and kind of reset it if you need to, okay? But once you have it down the way you want it, then you can pull the tape back or the paper back and then lay it out like so. And then you kind of get a nice smooth application. And then you can tuck your corners, all that good stuff. I have a little extra on this side, so I'm just gonna roll it over like this. And again, usually I just use a knife, but sometimes this stuff tears okay. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, usually I would take a knife and cut it right here. And then I would tuck one side, tape it down, and then I would tuck the other. Like so. If this was a flat block, now you have a waterproof membrane between the wood and your decking material, so you have a nice flat spot that the water's going to shed. Now let's just say this block is in between another joist. We definitely want to cover that seam between these two. If you let the water drain through, you could eventually have a rot and decay issue in that particular spot. But this is really about longevity. And if you're putting a 30 to 50 year decking product down on your deck, then you want your frame to last just as long. So this way you're gonna get 10 to 20 extra years out of your framing. Don't quote me on that. It's just a suggested estimate of time that the life of your framing will last because you've taken the time to protect it. So there you go, guys. That's why I suggest that you invest in joist tape. Thanks for watching this video. Have a great day.